This is arguably one of the more intriguing episodes that we are going to be confronted with in 2023's edition of 1 Year Later. Today, we're not talking about a guy that was a top-tier prospect. He was not a player that was supposed to be super highly touted, and instead is a guy that was an over-age draftee. He's a player whom, if you're a Red Wings fan and you've been keeping up with the Wings and their prospects, you've probably heard his name here and there, but so little information about him is available online that it's really difficult to try to pinpoint just what exactly makes this prospect profile work. Today, we are heading over onto SKA Neva St. Petersburg in the VHL and talking about the Detroit Red Wings' 52nd overall pick in 2022, Dmitri Buchelnikov. Now, Buchelnikov, as you can tell by the name, he's a Russian dude, and he's a really interesting pickup at number 52 because his birth date is September 6, 2003. This means that he was actually eligible for the 2021 NHL Entry Draft. The 5'10", 170-pound right-handed left-wing player was undrafted in his draft-eligible year, where he played in the MHL, which is essentially the junior league in Russia. He had a pretty okay point production amount. He was under a point per game with SKA Varyagi St. Petersburg and was even further under a point per game for SKA 1946 St. Petersburg. The combined production for him in the MHL in his draft-eligible year was 37 points in 46 games played, and while that's not bad, it wasn't good enough to get drafted. Normally, you'll see MHL guys completely dominate and still get taken, let's say, in the 5th, 6th, or 7th rounds. These leagues are heavily underscouted, and the quality of play in the MHL is just all over the place. There are a lot of MHL games free on YouTube, so I can recommend you go out there and watch those. They live stream all their games, and quite frequently you'll see just the lack of defensive play, the lack of commitment, the lack of intensity from either team in the offensive and defensive zones. If you're used to watching the NHL paced game and you switch over to MHL hockey, you're gonna be in for quite a shock. It's not really the best league in the world. However, Buchelnikov was unfazed by his lack of getting drafted in his draft-eligible year, as in 21-22 for SKA 1946 St. Petersburg, the guy had 75 points in 56 games played, 41 goals, 34 assists. He was at over a point per game in the playoffs. He was a goal-a-game player in the playoffs too, and as a result, it was good enough for the Red Wings to say, hey, let's take him with our second-round pick despite the fact that he is an overage player. You also have to remember that Buchelnikov's birth date is September 6th, so if he was born like 2 weeks later, he would have been eligible for the 2022 draft anyway. He was one of the youngest players eligible for 2021. But with that said, you could already take a look from the profile and see what it is that makes Buchelnikov stand out. This is a guy who scores goals, and he scores a lot of them. 9 goals in 9 games played with the 1946 St. Petersburg playoffs, and that goal-scoring touch continued as he progressed throughout his 22-23. You see, he played 4 games with the MHL team once more as a 19-20-year-old player, but this time he had 12 points. He was averaging 3 points a game against junior competition in Russia. This was good enough to give him a full-time call-up to the VHL, which is essentially the second-tier pro league in Russia, and even get a small cup of coffee in the regular KHL. Now, in the KHL, he had 2 points in 10 games played, a goal and an assist, but as we've talked about with all the Matvei Michkov videos we've made, SKA St. Petersburg does not really prioritize developing younger guys as part of its game plan. They're always trying to go out there and win, and younger guys are always buried in the lineup because of it. But with the VHL team, SKA Neva St. Petersburg, you saw Buchelnikov put up 28 points in 35 games played, 15 goals, and 13 assists. In fact, there was a highlight video that they posted on the MHL's YouTube channel, I'm pretty sure, of just Buchelnikov highlights, and you could see how this guy has such a knack for creating offense. He's got a really good shot, and his offensive IQ when on the rush is exquisite. He knows when to make cheeky passes, he knows when to cut to the middle, he can one-time a puck like nobody's business, and even some of the goals he has scored in this ongoing season. When he gets the puck in the rush and he decides to shoot from beyond the hash marks, he can find the back of the net from that far out. It's kind of incredible. This season, for SKA Neva St. Petersburg once more, Buchelnikov is at 4 games played, 1 goal, and 6 assists for 7 total points. Now, you could see the point production pace. That's on pace for about 98 points in 56 games played, and that's a really good number, but of course we're not going to project him to playing even 56 total games in the VHL. In fact, if you wanted to go over to the KHL and see what they're saying about this guy, This article on Detroit Hockey Now talks about how pundits are touting Red Wings prospect Buchelnikov for the KHL's Rookie of the Year. Before the start of the 22-23 season, Dmitri Buchelnikov was one of the main contenders for a breakthrough amongst young KHL players, writes Anton Vasyatin on KHL.ru. While Buchelnikov spent the majority of last season with SKA's junior squad and also with the club's farm team playing in the Russian second division, experts figure that one way or another, Buchelnikov will be playing his trade in the KHL this season. The next logical stage of his career should be the KHL on an ongoing basis, Vasyatin notes. Regardless of whether it happens in SKA or another club if the leadership of the Army team prefers a loan out. And so now, at the time of recording this audio, Buchelnikov is still with the VHL team in the farm system. He has not been sent over to the regular SKA St. Petersburg team. As we had talked about in the Matvei Michkov video a few days ago, the way SKA is being coached this year is so odd, considering that it's a vice president of the team that is taking over the head coaching duties, and Matvei Michkov wasn't being played, Ivan Demidov was not being played. Who knows if that'll be the same with Dmitri Buchelnikov, or if he'll get loaned out to some other KHL team in order to get his minutes. But for now, this is the status of a second-round draftee, overage draftee from the Red Wings system. They took a small-ish Russian forward with a really good shot and great point-producing ability in the second round, and now he is in it for the long term. There may not be much versatility here with the way Buchelnikov is developed, because it's completely out of the Red Wings' control. But just taking a look at what happened last season up until this season, he was an overage guy playing in the MHL. He was dominant in the MHL, was even more dominant in the MHL last season, and then was also good in the VHL. And now this ongoing season, he is also dominating the VHL as an over-point-per-game player at 20 years old. He recently turned 20 as well, so happy belated birthday to Dmitri Buchelnikov. It actually becomes more impressive when you acknowledge that, hey, this guy was a second-tier Russian player who was a star, all things considered, at 19 years of age for the entire year. That's awesome. And now, in his regular VHL play, he's showing off the goals, he's showing off the assists. Long term, if he could actually play in the KHL to end off this season, or let's say he plays half the year, 23-24 in the KHL, whether that's with SKA St. Petersburg or with some other team. There were some rumors out there saying that he was loaned out to Sochi, where Matvei Michkov is also loaned out to, but as of right now, he is still with SKA Neva St. Petersburg. If he's able to play half the season and actually get more of a middle to top six type of role, this could be a really good sign for Buchelnikov heading into the long-term future. On Elite Prospects, it says here that his contract goes on till 24-25, so we'll assume that by the time 2025 rolls around, that's when he's able to get sent over to the AHL's Grand Rapids Griffins, or maybe try out for the regular Red Wings. The versatility with this guy and his development will come sometime down the line. That is not right now. It's 2 years minimum for us to see what Buchelnikov is about as a prospect in Europe before he comes over. But for now, that's an okay bet to make for a second-round overager pick. Now, you could debate whether or not second round was a little bit too high, but if the Red Wings saw something they really liked, if Yzerman saw something that made Buchelnikov stand out amongst other players, especially as an overage guy, then all we got to do is trust his judgment. I mean, Yzerman played with a bunch of really good Russian players when he was in his heyday, so I'm not going to go out there and judge Yzerman's critique on Russians who are young and up-and-coming hockey players. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Buchelnikov? Dmitri Buchelnikov, a second-round overager pick by the Red Wings in 2022. What are your thoughts about how he's developed since then in the VHL? What are your thoughts about how he's going to develop in the future? And what do you think the Wings should do with this guy depending on how he grows? Is it AHL first? Do they give him NHL time, a cup of coffee with the 9-game sample and all that? Do you want to see what he does first in Russia before even deciding any of that stuff? Or do you think this is most likely the path he's going to go down because of the talent he does possess? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.